January 28th, the United States released two Russian sailors who had been aboard a Moscow-flagged oil tanker that was captured by U.S. authorities. The sailors had been in custody since the tanker Muranera was intercepted and seized on January 7th as part of a wider U.S. sanctions enforcement drive targeting Venezuela-linked oil shipments. This release took place while the Russian consulate in Edinburgh was pursuing legal steps to gain formal access to the detained crew members through the Scottish courts. Earlier, the ship's captain was removed from British waters aboard a U.S. Coast Guard vessel after the tanker was brought to anchor off Scotland. This removal went ahead despite ongoing legal attempts in Scotland to prevent U.S. authorities from taking the Georgian captain out of British jurisdiction. Captain of Tandil Kalandadze's wife had initiated proceedings seeking a judicial review of his detention and the circumstances of his transfer. On January 26th, a Scottish court issued an interim order that temporarily barred the captain's removal from the United Kingdom. That order was revoked on January 27th after the court was informed that the captain was already outside British waters. The British government stated that the crew had been allowed to disembark from the vessel at the specific request of U.S. authorities handling the case. Naisha Jadzama's lawyer said, quote, "Our client's judicial review can no longer be enforced now her husband has been abducted by U.S. government on Scottish and British territory," unquote. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for UK Ministry of Defense said, quote, "Deterring, disrupting and degrading the Russian shadow fleet is a priority for this government. Alongside our allies, we are stepping up our response to shadow vessels, and we will continue to do so," unquote. Reports said the captured ship carried a crew of 28, including 6 Georgians, 17 Ukrainians, 3 Indians, and 2 Russians. Crew members were brought ashore and processed at a British Army site near Inverness in Scotland. 5 of the crew later traveled to the United States, while the others arranged transport to return to their respective home countries. The captured tanker Muranera is currently anchored off the coast of Scotland. The United States had seized the vessel after a roughly 2-week pursuit at sea, alleging that it was involved in shipping oil linked to sanctions on Venezuela. Russia condemned the seizure, arguing that no state has the right to use force against foreign-registered vessels in such circumstances. Moscow also called on the United States to treat the Russian crew properly and to allow their early return home. Last week, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reiterated Moscow's warning over the tanker case and broader U.S. actions at sea. After the seizure, Russia used a nuclear-capable Oreshnik missile in a strike on Ukraine that hit targets in the Lviv region. The Oreshnik missile impacted a military-related target near Lviv, close to Ukraine's border with NATO member Poland. On January 22nd, President Volodymyr Zelensky warned European allies about Russia's deployment and use of the Oreshnik missile system. Zelensky said that Russia had deployed Oreshnik missiles in Belarus, putting many major European capitals within the missile's potential range.